Jeremiah, they call me Jer. This is my 10-year hatchback. It all started when I was younger, probably from originally Gone in 60 Seconds, to be honest. Nicolas Cage and the Eleanor, the fastback Mustang. Ever since then, that's what I wanted, was a Mustang, and then my dad ended up buying a 66 Mustang, straight six, 3-speed, red, just basic Mustang, but that was supposed to be my first car, and then out of nowhere, my brother came in and had I think his first car was a CRX, actually. I remember going to the dealership to buy a CRX. Like, that's not a normal thing people would do these days, but back then that's what he had. Lowered sound system, exhaust, that was it. Eventually I think it got stolen, not 100%, but after that he had a DA, and then he had an EG with the GSR swap in it on some 17s, just primered. I don't think I ever rode in any of the other cars. I did ride in the CRX, but after that, I remember him trying to do a motor swap with his friend in the garage, and I tried to stay awake, help, do dumb little shit, and took all night, and we still didn't finish. But I tried to hang on and learn as much as I could at the time. And then we sold the Mustang, because after that I wanted a Honda after being around my brother and all that shit. And I ended up with a white 92 EG, bone stock, DX, blue interior, so ugly. Some random 17 or 16s on it. Just first car, didn't care. Never did an oil change. I might have did one. Just didn't know much, just driving. That's when I started going to Kent and skipping the parties. Go to the party for 15 minutes and say, this is lame, I want to go race. I want to go burn my clutch up or whatever. Ended up going to Kent almost every weekend, and just hanging out there. Not even half the time didn't go to tracks, because the cops was already waiting for you when you got there. But I went out there so much that people knew to follow me to the track, because I pretty much knew where I was going the whole time. After that, let's see. So this is back in high school, and the friends I had at the time, still my friends now, but if we didn't do the races, we would search for togays around the area. That was something pretty interesting and definitely not supposed to do. But I got a friend, Mike, that would literally go through Google Maps and just look for windy roads and try to find places to search. We had a friend with a MR2 that he went for the more track look and did the turbo swap and all that, and he was definitely the fastest one in the group. But he would go out by himself, going to togays and whatnot. There's a place that we named Rainbow Road. It's off West Valley, and we only called it Rainbow Road because the place at the bottom of the hill it was called Rainbow something. They sold like basketball hoops and shit like that. But there was a road that went up on the other side of it and just had tons of turns, and we'd get to the top and switch like it was Initial D, because we didn't know no better or whatever. But so this is still in high school. Mike, the guy that found the stuff, he didn't go to school much. He would stay home and sleep till 1 p.m. basically by the time he got up to do stuff, we're getting out of school and we come to his house and kick it. We would watch Initial D, play Forza, work on S13, EGs, just a bunch of cars. I don't know, we didn't really know what we were doing until I got later, and doing SR swaps in the garage, not knowing what you're doing. So after that, I was lurking through Craigslist one day and found this car with primered, ugly, lowering springs, had a half carbon fiber hood. The center was carbon fiber, the rest was primered. I still have the hood to this day, actually. It's crazy. But it was super fast. Somebody welded the diff, if you can believe that, in a front-wheel drive car. So when you turn, it just, both wheels would just click and slip over. Super fun though. But like I said, ugly. Came on C8s. So that was my first kinda cool wheel. And after that, I remember my friend's dad was a painter, and he offered to paint the car for like $500. And I was like, that's whatever, that's a deal at the time. So way back when, me and my friend Sean had an idea to both paint our cars yellow. He was gonna have an EK, I was gonna have an EG, both yellow. Partially got the idea from Jeff, I think. But that was the plan, so I was the first one to do it, get it yellow. And I remember after that, I got rid of the C8s for some NT03s, spray painted them white, and then started driving to school. And I remember actually before Honda Tech 2009, I sold the first EG, the white one, and I went to Speed Zone in Tacoma. I bought EG6 headlights and corners. I think I bought Takiko Blues and some other random suspension, just because I had extra money to spend on the car and I wanted to get ready for Honda Tech. So spent all my money on that. And then I remember I was trying to find a backyard special back then, and just so happened there was another dude with a yellow EG that pulled up the Honda Tech with a backyard special, and I was so mad because I was looking for it for so long, and I offered to buy it off of his car at the meet, but he wouldn't sell it to me. After that, still going to Kent all the time, kicking it out there. Remember one night, it was down the street at the Cullen track, me racing Chaz in his blue Del Sol, and halfway, or right at the end of the race, I blew the motor. It didn't make a pop or anything, but it just shut off on me at the end of the track. And then he swears that he beat me, but it didn't happen. I got people, somebody that was in the car that would vouch for me on that. Either way, I think right after that, I went home, and the motor shut off again on me on the freeway while I was trying to race my friend Devin. And went home, found out it's a spun bearing, so B16 was done. Same time, so just let it sit after that. But fuck, even before that, I remember going to Krispy Kreme in the white hatchback I had, and that's where I met Thomas, Devin, Tim. We would go there every Friday or sometimes Saturdays, and we'd kick it there for like 2-3 hours, and I see Thomas every time. I don't think he would ever really go to the tracks, not that often at least, but I would pretty much see him every week, just say what's up, kick it at Krispy Kreme, bullshit. And I remember going to Axiom because he worked there, and he had a teal EG coupe, and he traded one of my friends some red HXs for something dumb, some Steelies, and like 200 bucks or something stupid. But it's just all kinds of fun shit. So I remember being at the tracks. This is 2 weeks before I blew the motor. We were at Ren Honda, and I lined up next to an Acura Legend. I don't know why. Or no, it was a DA. I raced the Legend before that. But I don't know why. I knew I was gonna win. I shouldn't have raced him. There was some lights at the end of the track, and then the dude who was flagging looked at him and was kind of like, all right, it's probably just somebody coming back from the last race, whatever. So he dropped his hands. I raced him and I won, but it happened to be the car at the end of the track was a cop, and pretty much because I won, I got pulled over, handcuffed. I remember getting right before him getting out of his car and coming up, I tried to text my mom as fast as I can. I was like, you're about to get a call. I just got pulled over for racing or whatever. And then the cop comes up to the car, yanks the phone out of my hand, throws it on the roof, said, get out, blah, blah, blah. And then he handcuffed me and sat me on the front of the cop car. And so I just had to sit there and wait until he figured out all the info. I was underage, I was 17, car was in my mom's name, so technically he couldn't really do anything. And so they had to end up calling her, and she came down, and she pretty much, I got released to her. They said she had to drive the car home, I couldn't be in the car. She got in the car, drove to the gas station. We pumped 20 bucks in the tank, and then she told me to go home, we'll figure it out later. And so I think probably a month later, had a court date for it, and we're in court, and the verdict they come through, they drop it down to reckless driving and then some $500 fine or whatever. And then they said 30 days, no license or whatever. And at the time, I'm going to school at Clover Park in Tacoma for cars. I didn't have a way to get there because the motor just blew up in this, so I had to figure out some way or a ride or something. And then the judge, after he said 30 days no license, my mom gets up and screams. She goes, y'all gonna take him to school? I gotta work in the morning. I can't be driving him to school every morning or whatever. And the judge just kind of froze and didn't say anything. And then, to be honest, I don't know if they ever really suspended my license because I don't remember getting anything in the mail about it. Usually they send you something that says your license is suspended, but I don't remember getting anything about it. So just carried on, and I think I drove, I don't know what I drove after that, but still made it to school somehow. And then, so after the motor blew, I had a bright idea. I'm gonna go K-swap because that was the up and coming thing. First motor swap I ever did on my own. I'm like, yeah, let's put a K in the car. That'll be a good idea. And this is 2010, 2011. Just not a ton of K-swap stuff out. So I'm on Craigslist. I find this dude selling a motor and a bunch of other shit. And I hit him up, and I was like, hey, I don't have the full money for the motor. I'm trying to part out some shit on my car because it blew up, and I'm trying to get the money. But I'll come give you half down for the motor if you want to meet me halfway or something. So me and a couple friends drove halfway to Oregon, met up with the dude, and I 17, 18 years old, and I was like, all right, I'm trying to buy your motor. Just here's half the money. I'll have the other half in like a month. Just hold it for me pretty much. And this dude could have took my money and ran, because I wasn't thinking about it. I'm trustworthy. It's whatever, but it's Craigslist, so what do you expect? But he said, to this day, I remember he said, "You're crazy. You should never just ran down and gave somebody half the money for a motor and just left." But I was like, whatever, I don't care. If he scams me, I guess it's whatever. You just figure out from there. But a month later, went down, picked up the motor, and dude had a bunch of shit, bunch of parts. And then after that, I remember buying a set of spoons from him. I bought the tranny off of him that he had. And till this day, I'm still friends with the dude that could have took my $600 or whatever for a blown K20. But the K20 itself was a Type R. It dropped the valve. I'm pretty sure it dropped the valve. And the motor was previously Yi Vang's motor in his K-Swap EK. And I know originally it wasn't his, he bought it, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But this K-Swap had ITBs on it. And it's funny because I just talked to him like a month ago, and he said I'd never buy TWM ITBs or whatever again, because he's pretty much blaming that at fault for why the motor fucked up. But just a piece of history behind it, knowing which car it came from and seeing the car, Honda Techs and whatnot, and just super cool knowing that I had that motor. So I bought new valves for it, like Super Tech, bunch of shit, fixed it, and then I put it in, got it running. And I remember I was going to meet up Tim at the waterfront, and I pull out of my neighborhood and the car just shuts off. And I'm like, what happened? I don't know what's going on. Why did it just shut off? So this dude, instead of driving to the waterfront, he lives in Tacoma, drove all the way to my house, it was pretty much in Graham at the time, just to help me get the car back to the house, because I was by myself, couldn't push it. Like, there was no way I was getting it back without somebody's help. And this is like the middle of the day. So we drove all the way out and we pushed it back. Couldn't figure it out. And like I said, this is my first motor swap, first time really putting a motor together. Wasn't thinking about it. And it turns out I didn't put the crank pulley key in. So it skipped timing, and then luckily it wasn't bad enough, and put it back together. It was fine, got tuned. After that, I went to IBOC 2012, 2013, something like that. And I drove it all the way down with my homie Mike and Devin, and there was a bunch of other people. Even the dude that sold me the motor came with us. It made it just fine. It was cool the whole trip. And then got home, and I remember going to, so we had, where did we go? We were just cruising around, and then the motor started detonating, or the TPS was just cutting out. And then I was like, didn't know what was wrong with it at the time, kept driving it, didn't matter. And then I think after that, I had went to, so at IBOC, after the coverage came out after, I remember Joey talking about my brake lines, because my bay had just got painted, and the brake lines, a lot of people just bend them down and then they just put them right back up. And I remember putting them up, but it wasn't like fully secured, it didn't look the greatest. But I remember this is back in the day when, and Joey didn't really care, just was giving his opinion on stuff. But he mentioned the brake lines, so I was like, fuck, I gotta fix that like immediately. This is Cali people saying this, yada, yada, yada. So I remember I dropped the car off to BJ's house, and he helped me do the brake lines. And I remember on the way home after picking up the car, I got pulled over because I was speeding because I hadn't had the car for whatever, I haven't driven it. And so the next day after getting pulled over, it was Formula Drift. And I was supposed to go up and be in the car show or whatever. And on the way to Formula Drift, I leave my neighborhood. I think I hit second and I hit third. And as soon as I hit third, explosion. Just popped a hole right in the back of the block. Just again, right down the street from my house, stranded again, had to get it towed back to the house. So that was fun. That was the first K20. Now we're on the second one. Same second one. But I guess another main reason I got into the K20 is back in 2011, NWP and all that is the biggest influence of probably most of us that are still in this car game. Just go on there and search for hours, going through 900 pages of the Civic thread, trying to get ideas for stuff. And that's primarily where the K-swap idea came. And I remember going to IBOC 2011, and at the time I tried to be in it because I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a K, and people don't have that. And I got a different color engine bay. It was purple, Lakers theme, but I don't ride with the Lakers. So I remember going down there, and it was the last one at the IBOC facility. It rained. It was the one with the crazy Integra that got towed away because he didn't have papers for the car. But I remember going in there, going to that meet, and it changed my whole perspective on what we were doing up here with our cars. And at the time, I don't think that many people had gone down to California to really see it. You just seen it all on NWP, or you just knew that the cars down there looked cleaner. And not all of them did, I'll tell you that much. Some that you see in pictures definitely didn't look as clean in person. But that was definitely an experience that got me to switch gears and paint the engine bay the same color as the car, and shit like that. But after that, I remember going to, it was 2013 or 14. So I'm still friends with the homie that sold me the motor that I met up halfway. And I got this idea because I saw this hood on NWP, and the dude said he wouldn't ship it. He's all the way in San Diego. So we were like, fuck it, let's go. Got in a CRV, drove all the way to San Diego, bought the hood, and then same trip, I bought some charge speed fenders, and then we just kicked it in Cali for a couple days, even ended up going to Vegas for 2 days. And at the time I wasn't 21, I was 20, I think. And I couldn't even do shit in Vegas. So I tried to bring my Xbox and set it up in the hotel room. But I don't know if you guys know, you can't put an Xbox in a hotel room, and shit did not work. It was horrible. So I just literally had to sit there and watch TV while my homie and went to the casino and got to have all the fun. But so after that, the parts didn't even get painted. They just sat for years because for whatever reason in me, I decided I was gonna go to school after that. So I moved to Eugene with my homie Justin. I was there for 2 years, just to party pretty much. Obviously went to class still, but so finished in Eugene, and then I came back. You know, everybody's asking you when your car is going to be done. It's just sitting in the garage, blown up K20. So after I came back, I slowly started working on it again. And that's when I think I got the all-in fab intake manifold. Actually, this might have been before that. The timelines are all messed up. But I remember I had the all-in fab intake manifold. I seen it on a EP3, I think, before. And I didn't realize that he was in Oregon, so he wasn't even that far. And we had this bright idea to take the intake manifold, the center feed manifold that another dude had on his car, and we're gonna put a window in it. There was one other dude that had one, and he never got the car tuned or never drove right. It pretty much was trailered most of the time, but he was in Vegas, and it was a different style. But I remember we did that, so I brought the car down, got the engine bay painted, and as soon as the engine bay got painted, I took it right to the dude's house for all-in fab. It was there for 2 weeks or so, and after that, it was like crunch time because we wanted to get the IBOC. And this had to be like 2013 or 14. But we went to IBOC. It was my car, Mike's car, but it was RL. This is just after he got rid of the Type R. And then the next car over was RSX that had the same manifold, but it didn't have the window. But that trip, car didn't run. We trailered it down there just so we could showcase it, show the dude's work. And I remember everybody coming up, oh, you got an intake manifold with a window, and everybody's like, you got ITBs with a cover over it or something. And the dude that built it was there, and he was very adamant to say, it's not ITBs, it's just trumpets on an intake manifold. Basically, what you wouldn't see anyway, so if there wasn't a window there, you wouldn't even call it an ITB. But the window was just pure aesthetic. And I remember I just left it like that, didn't run, needed a bunch of other shit to go with it. And then probably like a year later, went to Speed Factory to go get it tuned. Turns out the window wasn't sealed all the way. And literally, I think you have a 3-hour dyno window or something like that. We took the whole 3 hours because we had to, he said it was leaking out of somewhere, and we sprayed water on it. Water was leaking, or was coming right at the window. So we had to undo the window, reseal it, wait for it to seal, and then he had to tune it after that. But I remember we had to take the whole time just because it wasn't done fully right. But after that, drove it. I think we went to, this is the first time WeekFest came to Seattle. So after that, it's like 3 years, 2-3 years later, I finally got the hood painted. I got the charge speed fenders painted. And then I think I had it's an Rios front bumper. Got the whole thing painted, and then debuted it at the first WeekFest. Stupid look. Way too aggressive. I don't know. It's parts that you always wanted, and then you throw it together, and then you're like, it doesn't really look right. But I had some 16x8 plus 15 TEs, and I had some balloon tires. I only bought them because they were like $100. R888s, but they were fat. I remember a couple months before that, I bought some StopTech calipers, and the only wheel that they fit under was the TEs, and it was by like an inch, maybe less. After that, I remember on the way into that WeekFest, the car overheated, and there's pictures of people pushing the car really out, wasn't really ready, but we showed it anyway. It's been 3 years or whatever, and that was the debut of it actually driving initially, but it just overheated, so I got it pushed in. But so there was that. Then the next year, changed it up. Still had the fenders. No, I didn't have the fenders the next year. These black wheels and something else. I think I got the spoon lip after that too, and just started going more simple and simple. And after all the aggressive shit, the only thing I really kept was the hood. Strictly because nobody has it and everybody wants it, but just kept demoting it technically, but making it look better aesthetically for me. And I'll give a shout out to Tim for that one, because he always said less is more. He was always OEM plus, never went crazy on his stuff, and pretty much how I ended up on this look here was a lot of that help. And known him since Krispy Kreme. It's been, what are we, 9 years now? Thomas, same thing, 9 years. Just cars bringing people together. To not even do car stuff, just to kick it, go out and drink, people's birthday parties. A lot of shit. Wouldn't have met the NNG people same way without all that. Hanging out, going to Mike's birthday parties and passing around, I don't know, 15 bottles of Henny or some wild shit. I don't even remember. If I can give anybody advice on doing anything, building a car, is to do it slow, or don't put on piece by piece, because it's definitely not the way to do it. Have your vision in mind. Don't slap some wheels and then lower it and then do some other random, I don't know, put it all together in your head first, because it doesn't work. And then you'll end up spending way more money than you need to come to the same result. I know I have way too much money in the car going through so many different setups for no reason, all to end up halfway back to where I started. But I can't say cars will, I don't know if it will die in me. Obviously, we're always car people. Look forward to the next thing. I don't know what that is. I know Omar will hound me forever until I get a tune, because it still doesn't have a tune, but it drives, so it's okay. I'm fine with that. That's my goal for now, is to enjoy it, and maybe hit the track one day. Who knows? That's a stretch, but only because I don't want to break anything and put more money back into it. But so technically the next thing would be a tune, and just to enjoy it, because spent, out of the 10 years I've owned it, it's spent at least 80-85% in the garage, and it's not worth it. You get a certain feeling when you're driving it. And I remember in the times over the years, I used to get scared driving it. Like, I didn't feel confident in my work. Don't know why, but it was just, I didn't want it to break again, then I couldn't drive it again. It was just sad to see it sitting there in the garage, but finally it drives. I can move it wherever, don't have to worry about it, don't have to push it around if I need it moved. But just enjoy it, pretty much.